Hello friends, welcome back in my YouTube channel. In the series of the Facebook integration today, we are going to see how we can fetch the user data after user login in your app through the Facebook. Okay, so let's get start without wasting of time. So first of all, we will see what we have done in the last video. So for that, I'm going to run my project. So this is our last project what we have done. First of all, going in the main storyboard, in which we have created a login screen in which there is a button on which button we will click, then it will be redirected to the facebook.com, or if the app is already installed then it will be redirected to that app, and after that it will sign in or whatever the data you will provide, credentials you will provide, that will be logged by that credentials. If your app is already logged in, then it will store the access token. So in the last video we have seen how we can log in with Facebook. And there is another view controller, that is our profile view controller, on which we will show the user profile. So you can see there is a dummy data and there is an image view. So let's create some outlets of this screen of this image view. So this is our profile view controller. Just control drag and drop. Here is our image view. So there is our image view. Okay, so after that, to get the data from the Facebook of a user, of a signed in user, first of all we need to understand the graph API. Actually, Facebook provides the graph API to access the user's data. So there is a graph API reference. I will drop a link in our video description. You can get that link. So basically, the Facebook initially provides two basic permissions, or you can say that two basic information of the user, like public profile and email. For other permissions, you need to review your app by the Facebook. So whatever the process for the review, you can go through this documentation. You will find that documentation to how to review your app. So let's get started with the graph API. So as you can see, there is another example is there. Already one example is there, that is how to use graph API. For that graph API, you will have to use the graph request connection class, and you will have to create one connection object, and after that you will have to add the graph request. Now the graph request will contain some information like what is the graph path, what are the parameters, like which information you want to get from the of the user. Next is access token, whether it is used to whether you are logged in or not by that ID, and you are using to get the user information, right? So next is the HTTP method, which HTTP method you are using. So most of the time you will use the get HTTP method. Next is your API version, actually graph API version. So we are using as a default version, and then you will have to create the connection. And now see, so these are the information which you will pass here. Now there are two methods to pass the graph request: by passing directly a graph request, or by using a request model. So request model is a type safe thing, so we can use for type safety purpose the request model. Okay, so in this example I'm going to use the type safe request model. So for that purpose I'm going into my Xcode, and so there are our view controllers. One is login view controller, another is profile view controller. So I am going in my profile view controller, and there is one function that I have created already, that is get user data. Basically this function is used to get the user data, and this function is actually creating a connection. If access token is not null, this means that if user is already logged in, then it will create a graph request connection, and in connection we are passing a request that is my profile request. It is a kind of request, means it is a structure which is following the request pattern of graph, right? So let's create, first of all let's create this request model. For that purpose I have already created, so let's copy and paste. Okay, so this is our request model. So is there any mistake? Yeah, actually we have to remove these lines first of all. So as you can see that there is a request model, that is my profile request model, in which I'm passing some parameters like what will be my graph path and what parameters. This means that what information I want to access. One more thing is there. To access the information, first of all you have to request, or at the time of login you have to take the permission from the user. So if we go into the login API call, in the login view controller, as you can see there, we are requesting the permissions, right? So just we are reading the permission for public profile. So if you want to access email, then you will have to write read permission dot email. If you want to access gender, then you will have to write read permission dot user gender. If you want to access birthday also, then you will have to write dot user birthday, and so on. So let's read out which information we are using. We are using ID, name, first name, last name, picture type. These comes under the this comes under your basic profile. You know what? Public profile. So no need to mention externally from there, right? And for email, gender and birthday, you will have to make the separate request. As you can see in my login view controller here, right? Okay, so let's go again on the profile view controller. So these are the parameters which we are binding with our request, and what we are doing here, we are creating one more structure, one more struct there, that will be our response struct. Basically it is confirming our graph response protocol. So whenever we are requesting, what will be the output, I mean what will be the response, that response comes here in this init method, and the raw response will become here. So you can decode your raw response in the dictionary format, as you can see on documentation also. Okay, so on the official documentation you can see there is one request model in which it is saying decode JSON from raw response into other properties here. So you can use it as a dictionary format or whatever format you want, right? So you can extract your data. So let's move on. Once again, our profile view controller. So what I'm doing here, I'm creating one variable, that is dict, and in dict I'm initializing my raw response as a dictionary, and there is one more variable, that is image URL, which is going to hold my profile picture URL. and it will load the image from the URL. So for that purpose, for loading the image from the URL, we will have to add one more pod here, that is paste, save. Now right click on your project, show in Finder, open with terminal, go in the root directory and run the command pod install. Okay, so the pod has been installed successfully. All I need to just go on the profile view controller, right? So we are extracting the data here and we are making a request here, right? Okay, fine. So here we are getting the data from the response and we are printing the response, right? So I'm just marking here so that whenever we will run, we will get the data. Okay, so when we will request the data, whenever the uh, view is going to be appear, we want our data, so we will call get user data. Okay, so I'm not going to populate the data, whatever the data we are accessing from the Facebook, we are not going to populate on the UI. First of all, we are checking whether the data is getting or not, right? So just let's build and run the application. Okay, so it is asking to open facebook.com, continue as Chandar, and as you can see that my optional my Facebook ID is there, right? And name is also printing here. So this is the way to how to get the data from the Facebook using Graph API. Let's set the data on the labels. For that purpose, all we just need to do here is name label dot text. So as you can see, I have extracted all the data. Yes, I have extracted all the data. Now let's build and run and test whether it is getting the data or not. Yes, as you can see that the default data has been changed. The default data was like in the main storyboard, you can see this was the default data, but it is getting the data is this. Okay, this means that it is working fine. Okay, but one more problem is there, the image is not showing. Okay, let's show the image also. For that, go into the profile view controller. So in the profile view controller, we will have to extract self dot image view dot image, sorry, dot image dot, oops, what is the problem? Okay, I will have to import SD web image. So that we can set the image from the URL. So self view dot SD underscore set image. So there should be a URL. So URL we have extracted in the response. As you can see in the response, image URL has been extracted as separate. So let's response dot image URL, we will extract what happened. Okay, it is a string and we need to pass as a URL So let's make it as URL. Okay, and the completion handler should be nil. Fine. Let's get what is the problem? Okay, this is optional value, so provide a default value as okay. Let's get start and run. Oh, so as you can see that image is loaded successfully, and the data has been extracted from the Facebook. But remember one thing, as I have already said, that there is a limited permission to access the user data. By default you can access the public profile and the email from the Facebook of any user, but if you want to access like birthday, gender, or any other kind of information, then you will have to review your app by the Facebook. In the meanwhile of development, you can use ID, the same ID which you have registered on the developer.facebook.com. For the testing purpose it will work fine, but if you want to make your app as live, then you will have to review your app, how you are using the users data, like you are using the birthday or gender, whatever data you are using, how you are using, and whatever the criteria is there that you will have to fulfill, and then you can make the request to access the users data and you can publish your app. So in this video that's fine, and if you want more details about Graph API you can go on the official website doc and you can get more things. So for right now it is enough. Okay, bye bye, take care. If you like the video, kindly subscribe and press the bell button for new videos. Thank you, bye bye.